Okay, I am recording. We're here with Piggyman. We're going to talk through his fantastic quarterfinal domination of Slash of Time. Uh, he has already been repeatedly slagging off Slash's play before we started the recording, but now we'll really be able to get into it.
True.
That is definitely what happened. So yeah, you want to start talking us through the hands?
Yeah, sure. So this was actually, I thought, a pretty tricky rule set to make a hand around. Um, you needed all four of your cards to have four different numbers, and you could only use six different numbers across all your cards. Um, and it really created some limitations that were tricky to work around. This was the very first hand that I made. I'm the red player. Um, I like you noted the last video. I really do just have a tendency to use cards I like. I like Luca a lot, and so I just started with the A478, the Chrono Trigger Luca, and just kind of built a hand around that. Chose cards that I thought were generally pretty strong. The 5A4 is, I think, FF13 or FF14 card. I don't know. But I thought it had nice symmetry with the A8 off of Luca. Um, and yeah, just chose generally powerful cards on the other levels: 8765, 4687, strong corners.
So I noticed in other matchups, a lot of players later gravitated to hands with ones in them to include cards like Larsa. Did you consider going that kind of direction?
I did after this game. Like I started to create different hands because I thought the results I got out of this hand were like okay, but I felt there was something stronger that I could put out of this. And indeed, a lot of those cards with ones will have like eights and nines and seven, sixes, and so on and so forth. And so they are just super strong tri-directionally. And yeah, I guess I'll speak more to it in the future games.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have brought that up if I had remembered what future games looked like. But
Mhm.
um,
I
also,
would
it's
also just
yeah,
maybe add one more thing is that I think given that all cards had to have four different numbers, it really strengthened the power of A's. A's
yeah,
cannot be taken by plus wall, and so I think it's almost essential to have two A's in your hand.
yeah. That sounds completely right to me. It also means most cards are going to have tons of play against nines and eights, right? Like
That's it.
just looking through these cards, there are so many plus walls against exactly nines and eights.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember watching some of these games. Just always my intuitive move every time there was like a slash formation was like they should probably just play the safe side square with an A pointing out. And I'm not sure how often that happened, but it was always at least a temptation for me watching.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of instances where that did happen, and you kind of have to resist the temptation because, as simple as it is to take a safe move, like we'll see that actually in one of the later in the last game, even if we happen to cover it, of course. That I had several safe moves, and I chose one that didn't necessarily grant me safety, but kept the cards that would give me safety later, and that I think is ultimately would help propel that game to a win for me.
Nice. So you had first turn here. Do you remember what you did? Should I skip ahead to the move?
Ooh, what did I do? Okay, I have to admit it's been like I think over a week since this game has been played. What did I do? No, you know what? I'm clueless. You can go ahead and start.
So one huge tell whenever it's one of my AI screens is I usually just put the cards in the order they were played because I'm lazy. Um, so I think it's the top card gets played.
Okay, where did I play it? I'm not even sure. Was it in one?
Looking at where you have plus wall potential, maybe three, because if 5876 or 6885, well, 5876 takes you the combo in one. And if you can draw Tifa out of their hand, you can take back safely.
Yeah. Was in 3, okay.
Skipped out the wrong amount, sorry. This seems logical to me. It's right. We
Yeah,
have
I figured that it's actually, like, somewhat problematic for them to try to take it. Um, if they do take it with either Tifa, the 68A5, or the 5876, my 5884 in 1 is perfectly safe and possibly even combos back. Um, and if they want to take from 4, they have to use their only A up, and then their strongest A up becomes a 6. So I thought it created enough problems for them to try to handle.
yeah, I like the look of this move. It also, of course, uses one of your low level cards, which is always nice if you can create a challenge with one of the low levels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
generally want to hold your stronger cards in multi-level games.
And as I think you pointed out in our chat, Slash definitely liked replying to corner starters in 5 in this match.
Say that again, sorry?
Slash definitely liked replying to corner starters with moves in 5.
Yeah, he has this propensity to play moves in 5, I've noticed, like both on first and second turn.
Yeah,
And truthfully, I gotta say I didn't like his move here. Like for him, I thought that this made my 8765 way too powerful.
yeah, you have the same in both squares.
Yeah, and you know I love me a good same.
It is your jam. There's one thing I know about you.
Yeah. So I'm thinking first thing here, just leave those two squares open. 2 and 6 now are golden. Like I'm gonna for sure have some opportunities to kind of lock in my card in 3 one way or another.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is something you think. When I have like the perfect combo in both squares, I am more likely to go for the slash than the J because I think if you went in like 4 here, if they go and say 1, it's really likely 2 and 6 get blocked up kind of early.
Yeah,
And
it's
if
true. It kind of creates a log jam.
and if I go in 7, anytime 2 or 6 is taken, I'm ready to go in the other. Well, if I go in 4, when one of them is taken, like if they go in 2, I'm probably not going in 6. I'm probably going in 1 first, and I kind of don't get paid off for the setup.
Yeah, and it'll usually end up in a pretty favorable Q formation for you.
Yeah. And based on the order the cards are listed, I'm guessing you played Luca in 7 here.
That would make sense. Yeah, I think I like how the 5A4 could take back in either 4 or 8. Um, especially in 8, it would be safe if I could go in there.
Nice. Yeah. We are running out of left power. That was something else interesting on this set because you both have the A8s and then nothing else can have double numbers. Very easy to be weak side to side.
That's true. After your 10 and your 9, the most power you can have is on 8 generally, and you can't really even have 8s in all directions. So
Yeah. So if we move ahead, you can always tell me just skip ahead.
okay, yeah, sure. Generally, if I'm not adding anything else, unless you have a point to make, I would say you can probably safely go ahead.
All right. I may have not actually captured a moment when there. Okay, so you did play in 7, and he went safely in 8.
Yeah. So now, kind of like not the strongest position for me here, I would say. Um, given that that card is pretty safe in 8 for him. Um, I guess here I must have just gone the 5A8-4 and just made the Luca safe and figured that at the end the 8765 would surely be enough to get me at least a tie.
So, for instance, if you go in 4 and they take safely in 1, you probably just drop in 9.
Yeah, exactly. Which might not, I think, is pretty close to what happened in the game.
Yeah, and if you go in 4 and they start in 9, you drop in 1 and have a better version.
I think I pretty much have to go 4 here, like, I think my options are extremely limited because if I don't go in 4, he goes in 4, and then I'm just, I think, in a world of hurt.
And so maybe could you go in 4 with, or sorry, could you go in 9 maybe with 4 8 5 6? Is that crazy?
Uh, doesn't he just kind of go in for himself there? Is that not good?
If he goes in 4, I was thinking you go 1 and have the same 8 7 6 5 setup, but hopefully what he put in 4 was weak to 5.
Possibly. Maybe if he puts Tifa there. Do I have something to take it with? I guess the 5 8 8 4. He still can take that with a Sam wall though.
Yeah, but
There
then
might be something there, but
he's weak to 3 and 5. I bet it's just a tie, but I think that might tie as well.
it could tie possibly. I didn't look there though. I felt like 4 was probably the only possible move.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. All right. So having trouble getting to that position as I skim through this file. So let's call it and move on to the next game.
Yeah, sure. That's
All right.
summarized the first one well enough.
So we have a closed game. I do have your hand listed somewhere, though I don't have a good way to show it.
Okay.
But
I think I mostly remember my hand. I'll definitely remember it based on the first move, I think.
all right. So Slash hit first turn, and he went in 5 at some point.
Oh yes. I this game hurt. Okay, so he starts with the FF7 behemoth in 5. I wasn't really sure truly what to expect from his hand. Um, and so I just kind of played this. Usually, playing in 5, I think, is good in closed. Gives you a lot of board control. So I'm not going to knock Slash's propensity to go in 5 in this case. But yeah, I figured just going into a corner here gave me some play with the cards I had and was probably fairly safe. Although once he played his I think his second or maybe his third card, I think started to go downhill. Oh yes, he played in the opposite corner. Okay. Now here, I think I just went in 4, if I'm not mistaken.
So I remember when you did go in 4 here because I remember watching this one. I don't think I defend these positions all that much like most other players I've talked to. But my instinct is always leave open the squares I have the best combo and play the square that makes sure I have the best combo left next turn. So given that you had the same in 4, my instinct is to go in 2 because they're likely to reply in 6 or 8 and that leaves 4 open.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And specifically in 2 weak to 5 if I can finagle it.
I felt like especially here 6 was a pretty dead square for me in this position, and so it might have been even a good idea to just try to like play there, but it's kind of like a hard thing to ask yourself to do when you're not capturing anything.
Sure. So your remaining cards here, you have blank 7 3 5 8. You have 3 6 7 4, the card in 3. You have 3 5 8 7.
Yeah.
And you have 8
Oh, that's right. So I went for the same with blank here because I figured like he already used 2 cards that could possibly have a plus wall in 1. I figured his chances of having a third one were fairly low.
Ah, that's an interesting point. I didn't think about that for this move. You had 8 6 4 5.
Yeah.
So our only combo square is 4.
I think it combos in 2 as well now, but yeah, it's got limited use.
Oh, 8 6 4 5 is 2 as well. Yeah, I was just thinking through like all your cards and which squares you might have combo potential in.
So yeah, you can go to the next move here.
All right. And
this move kind of hurt. Obviously, because it's completely locking in the card in 7. But now here, I really went into a deep think, and I started to think, like, what can his last two cards be? He's already shown that he's okay with having symmetrical cards because he has these opposite sided behemoths. And a very real possibility that crossed my mind was he has blank and wing raptor, like the classic 8753 combo cards at level 6. Um, and I was actually thinking, like, what card do I put in 9? Because if he does have blank and wing raptor, then my blank in 4 is actually safe, and I don't need to worry
Right.
too much. But I'm a little upset with myself for playing the card in 9 that I did, because I think I had to play the other one, like the 357, the 3587, because the one that I did left me like crushed against the blank and the wing raptor. But I just told myself, like, it's either he has those or he has literally any two other cards. Like,
Right.
what am I going to wager on? And I chose the wrong wager.
So if you started in 9 with 3587,
It
8.
would have made it so that my 3674 could go in 2 without being comboed.
Ah, right. I was thinking you do it with 8645, and that still walks into a plus wall from the 5873. But okay, you do it with the level something magic.
Yeah. And so I played in 9, and then he immediately played a blank, and then I knew I was screwed because I knew he had the wing raptor.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. And then no matter where I put my last card, it's a loss.
And you can't really start in 1 because you don't have 6.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or it's hard to.
I chose the right square, just not the right card.
Yeah. Uh, It's interesting though because it was the rule set I made. So he had shown 12 levels, which meant he had shown 554 14 levels. So he had 12 levels remaining. So it was really likely to have a level 6 pair.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of honed in on blank and or it's not Wing Raptor anymore. Actually, it's Seal Guardian. I've
Yeah.
been misspeaking this whole time. I forgot that got changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what very well played game by Slash. Like, I definitely don't want to take away any credit from him. Just feels bad when you know that a small little change could have possibly made a difference in the outcome.
And a hand read that was in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that hurts. So at this point, you were down 1-0 and it was all over.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about these best of threes, though. You know, you can start down and have epic comebacks.
Firmly disagree based on
Oh
recent
yeah,
past
yeah.
experience.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that one.
No, it's all good. Um, all right, so you're down 1-0, and we're going into. I think we're switching to the third set that hasn't been played yet. Or is this back to set 1? No, this is the third set.
Yeah,
And it
I remember
comes
this.
open. And I remember thinking, your hand is much more symmetrical, and I like it more, except I'm not sure what 7565 is going to do. But then it did good things.
I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't sure what I was gonna do either, but I felt like it created enough like possibilities of plus walls and pluses and combos that it would probably serve a purpose.
You'd find use for it. And it doesn't unbalance your hand in any direction. It seems like the closest to a neutral card you could come up with.
Yeah,
Yeah. One thing interesting, I think, is like Slash in so many of these games, and lots of people build hands this way, will have two cards for the same corner. Like here he has Silver Dragon and 7456.
and that's actually like I think that can be a very valid way to build your hand because it sort of gives you like an easy way to start off because you can start like for example Slash here could start like his 7456 in 1 and then uh, the bulk of his it's like a weak corner but then the bulk of his other cards have a lot of power facing that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is not what he played here.
I agree. Did he go in 5?
I think he did go in 5. Yeah.
All right. He goes
I'm
in 5.
telling you,
Oh,
this man loves to go in 5.
and interestingly, he does it not with one of the redundant corners, which I was surprised by.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if he does do it with the redundant corner, I think your cards work better off it, right? He picked one that your cards don't have natural play off.
Mm-hmm.
I think you made the move I wanted you to make here.
I forget what my move was here, actually.
I think you played 7, 5, 6, 5, and 6. But we can skip ahead and then see. Nope, I am incorrect. That was a different game.
Yeah, I remember playing the 7-5 because I think he used the same hand and he went with the 7-4-5-6 and 5, and that's when I played in 6 with that 7-5-6-6.
I'm just coming with spoilers all over the place. Sorry about that. So this makes sense because he is really limited side to side. You have control over his only capture in 9. You also have control over all his captures in 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to me.
Sorry, go ahead.
It makes sense to me. Do you want to further explain?
This is one instance, like just with my move in 8, I essentially create a sort of vertical position. And I think this is a position where my 7-5-6-5 actually starts looking like a pretty dangerous card for him because it completely sweeps all his cards facing up.
Yeah. I think a worry is that his high level cards are clearly better designed for an up down game. Or at least 2 of the 3 of them.
Yeah, my 2-8-7-6 and 7-6-2-8 are much more side to side.
But I thought he was in trouble after this move. Because it was hard for me to find a good square for him to play.
And where did he continue?
But I think he continued really well, as I recall.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because that's completely safe. I think, did I play in 7 here? That's my instinct.
Which card?
I think maybe it was the 7-5-6-5. Because even if he takes with Chupon the 5-3-8-6, then I've got the plus wall back in 1 with Luzu. But it might have been the 7-6-2-8. It was one of those two, I'm pretty sure.
I feel like the 7-5-6-5 is worth keeping just so if he goes 6, you have a capture in 3 against the 5 at least. Oh, I guess that gets comboed back anyway. And the other doesn't. Ignore me. But it is interesting that, like, anything you ever put in 3 that isn't 7-6-2-8, which won't take anything in 6, he does have good combo play against on 7-4-5-6. Like, it's really hard for you to play there.
Yeah, I find that in these multi-level games, these like 7-6-5-4 type cards for level 5s actually have a lot of play against higher level cards.
Level 5 is such a powerful level at dealing with all other levels, I think. Like, it always has tools.
It's interesting, yeah. It's the middle of all levels, and yet it plays well against all of them.
Yeah, absolutely crushes level 3s and 4s and has good play against everything above it. Whenever I do a split level set, I try to include level 5 because I think it just has better tools. Like, level 6 cards are a little awkward, like you go with the classic 8-7-5-3, and sometimes that card's just kind of dead. Like, sometimes the 8 doesn't overpower other 8s, and the 7-5 and the 5-3 don't line up, and it's just not taking anything. And,
I generally agree.
Yeah. And I noticed you didn't go with 8-7-5-3s here. But...
No, I didn't. I didn't want to be, like a basic B word.
A Sir Smokes, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. dirty lamer.
So here, I guess he has. I thought he had a choice between 4 and 6. Um,
Yeah, it crossed my mind that he could possibly go in two and create an awkward T, but
maybe with
I'm not
Silver
sure if
Dragon,
anything. Yeah, but I'm not sure that actually would have been good.
because he doesn't have the recapture in 1, and you have combo play in 3.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's just too weak to the right to make that happen.
So he blocks 6.
Oh yeah, I remember this moment. I thought actually that he blundered at first. I thought like, wow, this has to be a win, just because of the power of the plus wall off the 5, 4, 7, 6, and 3. But then I started like really like calculating it out, and it's ties everywhere.
His 7, 4, 5, 6 sweeps 2 and 3 so well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
demonstrating the power of these level fives.
indeed. Yeah, yeah. I think I thought after your move in 8, Slash was in trouble, and that his sequence of going 9 and 6 was really a good job of keeping it under control.
Yeah, I think he defended really well.
And so
I did ultimately go with this because I knew it was it was a good tie.
yeah, and he goes 2, and then 5, 3, 8, 6 as the capture at the end. And we tie set 3, so Slash still leads 1-0. And I think a nice defense from him.
Yeah, definitely.
And luckily for me, you got a lot of open games in this match, which is much easier for me to talk about because I can see the cards, obviously. So this looks like both of you repeated hands, but you switched out your 8, 7, 6, 5 for a different one.
Yeah, I had originally had Trauma, the 4, 8, 5, 6 from FF8. I switched it out with Rust Tyranno, the 8, 6, 4, 5. For some reason, I thought that it would be a good idea to use this card again after he beat me with it.
Right?
And I switched to 6, 7, 5, 8 Shiva. Both of them are the same values as the two other cards that I had in my hand before, but just in different formations.
The directional strengths of these hands are so interesting because like you have 1, 8 and then a 7 to the right, and he's a little more consistent side to side, but not much. It's really hard to have directional kind of consistency on this set, I think.
It is. So it's a tricky set.
Who had first turn on this one?
All right, I'm first turn. What did I play? I'm drawing a blank.
Slash's first turn. All right, let's see what he did.
Oh, of course, he played in 5.
Obviously, who could have doubted?
And what did I play here? I'm drawing a blank. The fact that these games were like over a week ago is kind of clouding my memory on them.
That's okay. I think it's funny that if you'd played the previous hand, you probably would have played the same move in 3 that you played the first game just to get the same setups.
Yeah, honestly, probably.
And sometimes those can work out kind of differently depending which turn you're on.
Yeah, second turn, you're not always advantaged by having a setup like that because you don't have the last move to execute it.
Maybe a dumb strategy, but a thought on this set. I don't know if you had other hands made, but if we predicted him to return with this hand and predicted him to keep doing 5 starters, I would have been really tempted, if I had that like locked in, which obviously you don't, to switch to a side to side hand and meet 5 with, because obviously both these hands are kind of up down, meet 5 with 4 or 6, just to force a side to side type game.
Well, one thing I noticed was both of us clearly were using a lot of A8s. And I figured what would be the best retort to an A8? I was like, oh, probably an A9. And so that's kind of what I started working my hand to be in the next games.
Okay, cool. Yeah. A8s are really bad against nines. It is true.
Okay,
Again,
I played in one here.
I like how you go after him having just one card that can go up.
Yeah, and even if he does decide to capture it, I have a safe recapture in 7 that he can't touch.
Ooh, right?
And I don't think he has that many great moves in 2 either.
Yeah, this is kind of, I think, the problem with center starters is you sort of just let your opponent figure out where are your weaknesses and pick the move that lines up against them.
So, what was his continuation here?
All right. Let's
Okay, yes, he played this, which does give him pretty good control with his 4-6-8-7 in both 6 and 8. Um, but does curiously give me a couple of moves in 8 myself, especially with my Rust Tyranno.
right. My instinct watching this was like, okay, main moves are 4 or 6 with the A facing out because I am a simpleton.
Yeah, and that's a hard move to argue against, truthfully. Um, and did I? Is that what I went? I'm not sure what I went here. I feel like that is what I went.
I think 4 might be the better option because he doesn't have the kind of paired move in 6 because of your Tyranno for 8. Because it's weak to combos of through 9.
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, well, we'll move to the next move. All right, you do go 4.
Okay, yeah. Just safety, and also still have the option to go in 6 with Luca later. Um, though
And
his 6-8-5 Tifa definitely makes it hard for me to play anything in 8.
true. I really like for you here that his A548 never really has a safe home in 6.
Yeah, because then it's just a bit too easy for me to play around it.
So I think if I remember right from watching and also like checking with Solver, I think he has very few paths to a tie here again. Like the kind of obvious moves are pretty scary. Gigas in 2, you have the combo. A548 and 2 is just giving up all ups entirely. A548 and 6 at some point has the problem of Tyranno and 8. But I think he
Yeah,
found the save here. Maybe 7. Yeah.
yeah, he did actually, which was a good find.
Yeah. Because even though it has safety and that draws you to it, it feels very risky to me.
Yeah, but kudos to him for playing what looks like such an ugly move, but is in fact a saving move.
Yeah. Because even though he has, like, a plus wall in 2, it's never comboing any extra cards.
Yeah,
All right. Oh, yeah, you went fancy. I forgot about
oh
this.
yeah, 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 that's true. Okay, it's because I knew that this position was probably tied, and so I tried just looking around, like what's like I always say go for a hail mary. What's the move that he could that has the highest chance of him possibly overlooking something? And I thought this was spicy enough that maybe he like misplays. I think there was only like a couple of ties here as well.
So if he goes a5, 4, 8, and 2, you have the combo and 8, and I think you win.
Yeah, the Rust Tyranno coming in clutch.
Yeah. I think he can block 8. Like a5, 4, 8, and 8 looks like a tie to me.
Yeah, because then his 4 6 8 7 probably has the combo in 2, which kind of forces me to block 2, and then I'm not really taking anything that he can't take back.
He could also maybe start 4 6 8 7 and 2. So yeah, he's a couple ways to tie. When I first saw this, I was like, oh no, what has Piggy done? You know?
You don't like my razzle dazzle?
I always get scared when I see Razzle Dazzle, I think, yeah. If it's a move I haven't checked, I'm worried when I see it, right?
That's fair.
And I did not check this move. But I think it's a nice try. Elegant finish to the game. All right. I may have missed moves in real time. That's the Okay, he goes 6.
Okay, so in fact, he may have actually had like more ties than I suspected he did here, but I don't know. It was a cool looking move, and I wanted to do it.
Yeah, no, I like it. You did it for the crowd.
Exactly. I'm a crowd pleaser.
And then sadly for the crowd, Slash did not wait, 30 seconds to make his reply so that I could get every move on tape. Very rude.